What is up, you guys? You're watching Sergio's Secret. Before I get started with today's video, if you can please give this video a thumbs up and the subscribe button. I post a video Monday through Friday on designer and contemporary fashion, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any one of my uploads. And I also post some of the greatest sell links, so if you want to know what great deals are out there, make sure to check the links down below because they change from video to video. Other than that, let's get started with today's video. So today's video, I want to be different. I like to do a little bit of story time telling a little bit more this year. So this year, I decided to talk about some of the jobs I've had in the past and just talk a little bit more. So today is going to be my story time of me working my first retail job. I worked at Victoria's Secret, I worked at other couple places, but today we're particularly going to talk about my experience working at Kohl's, which is my first retail job, and it was probably one of the most favorite ones. You know how much I take appreciation in a lot of different things. I love retail, I love fashion, I like the idea of marketing something so somebody can purchase it, the psychological effects. Like, I just am in love with like the credit cards, like the product, that is what product goes to every store, the demographics of a customer. Like, I just love all of that. I know retail's dying, but consumerism is not going to stop anytime soon. I'm just in love with it. Like, I love knowing logistics, I love knowing facts, I like to know things about every brand and every knowledge. Like, I just love it all. Like, that's one of my passions. So Kohl's definitely was a job that kind of gave me an in-between of what it was like to work in retail. I started when I first turned 17, and I only really worked there for, I want to say, like 5 months or 6 months. I didn't work there too long because then I ended up moving to something else. A very eye-opening experience. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how that kind of went for me. I don't know why, I just kind of feel like talking a lot with you guys today. So there, when I first turned 17, I think I was in the process of another high school where I was going to graduate early because I didn't want to be in school anymore. I just got kind of fed up and tired. I just felt like I was just not part of my school. I talked about this before. I didn't go to prom. I've never went to like a football game. I was just a very antisocial person, or I just wasn't into the whole high school scene, just because I felt like that was a waste of time, and at the end of the day, those things were gonna fade away, and what really matters is whatever you're gonna build for yourself. Because you can go to every football game, you can go to prom, whatever, but 5 years from now, prom is over. Like, what do you have to show for it? So early, and I was still working there while I was kind of graduating early. So I kind of had a priority to finish school early, and then I also kind of had an eager to kind of work there. So at Kohl's, I will say that I was a very well-liked employee. So I worked at a location where it is now currently closed, and they moved that location to another place kind of nearby. So the Kohl's that I worked in DFW in the Dallas-Fort Worth area was one of like the lower performing, or from what I heard, what I was told, and everything kind of like is allegedly as far as like facts, because it's been such a long time that I don't quite remember, but I believe it was one of the lower performing Kohl's stores that I worked at, and it was the one that had the most shrinkage problems. So the one that kind of got stolen most, the one that had kind of like the most kind of like drama, the most shoplifters. Like, I worked at one of those type of Kohl's. So it wasn't like the bougiest Kohl's that I worked with. It was kind of one of the ones where you got to see actually quite a bit of action. So there, I was put in as a cashier, and my discount was 15% off. So 15% off doesn't sound a lot, but when you keep in mind you could use all those coupons and everything, I would buy so much. And that's why I'm still kind of like obsessed with Kohl's, because I still get like all my bedding and all that stuff still from there, and I actually like the quality of like their home stuff, like their comforters, their sheets and stuff, their towels. Like, I think they're actually pretty decent quality. So that's the only thing, like, now in 2021 what I purchase from Kohl's is more as their home stuff. I was never usually interested in their clothing or in their beauty products unless it's Elizabeth and James, which is the Olsen's twins brand. Other than that, a lot of the other brands didn't really interest me a lot at Kohl's, except Elizabeth and James, and that was added after my time there. Hired on, and right from the get-go, I was one of the well-loved employees there, and I was one of the most kind of like 411 employees. Like, I would go in there. I remember, I'll insert the pictures of me working there, but I remember I was really good at opening credit cards. And back then, I knew about credit cards, but I didn't have one because I was 17, and I remember I would just kind of like looking, and I would just kind of like look at like the terms, and I would just kind of get into credit cards, and that's what kind of got me into credit cards, because I would see how many accounts we would open. And so I'm gonna be really honest, I feel like the one that I worked at, people were very vulnerable to credit cards, and we would actually open a lot of accounts very easily because people just wanted the discounts. So sometimes it would be like 30% off your purchase, 20% off your purchase, 15% off your purchase. And then they would, like, the way that I would do it is I would like scan the coupon and tell them how much they were saving if they had a Kohl's card. Back then I didn't have a problem with that, but now, knowing what I know now, I feel like for me, I know the opportunity cost, and I would, if I had that job now, I probably wouldn't be successful with opening cards because people are very vulnerable with cards, and a lot of people don't understand it. And if me making somebody open their card ultimately ended them up in a debt collector or not paying off their credit card or whatever the reason is, my integrity is a little bit more higher nowadays, so I probably wouldn't work there or be successful there because I wouldn't want to force people, or I wouldn't want vulnerable people to open credit card accounts when they probably shouldn't. So I was one of the top credit cards. I would open credit cards all the time, left and right. I would hablar en español. There was like a very Hispanic culture there too. So I would work there. I would wear my Burberry shirts that I got from like eBay, from like Poshmark. I would put like some black jeans, whatever. Y me quería muy muy. I had him back then, so you couldn't tell me anything. I had my Burberry shirts de la segunda. I had my carrito, and I would go in there, work, and then go to school and blah blah blah. So life was pretty good. Estaba bien hecho para mí. Pretty good at opening the credit cards, I'm not gonna lie. Like, abría todos los tarjetas de crédito. I would open them left and right. You would get 50 cents every time you would open them, and then for like Christmas and stuff, you would get like $2. And so I liked it. Life was good. I think I was getting paid, I want to say maybe like $10 an hour, which now looking back at like everything that I've kind of been through, back then $10 was a lot of money to me, and it met my needs because I was living at home and I was very kind of frugal. I mean, I still am, but I kind of expanded a little bit more. But I would say the pay, I did like it, and I also liked my discount, and I also liked working there. And for me, the reason why I like jobs is the people that I work with. I became friends with all the managers, I became friends with all the employees, and I just loved it all. I remember there was this one employee, I don't know if she watches my videos, her name was Nancy, and she was this Hispanic lady. Maybe she was like a couple years older than me, but we got along so well. She was so nice. She was like in charge of like women's clothing and stuff like that. But we would like talk on the phone for hours after my shifts, or I didn't work there. We would be on FaceTime. We would literally have like the best time of our lives, and I got along with almost all the managers. Like, everybody was super nice, super cool, and there was like some managers that I felt were very rude and that didn't like me, but other than that, like, all the managers liked me. Another thing about Kohl's that I will say is shoplifting. So if you ever thought about shoplifting, let me tell you, Kohl's is not the store to do it at, nor would I just recommend shoplifting in general. But let me tell you, Kohl's would catch people left and right. I remember one time I worked a Sunday morning shift. Came in, let's say this is like a sensor detacher, so you can go like on Amazon, right, and you can buy those sensores where you can take off stuff, right? So this person would just go in there. I remember it was like 2 of them. They came in and loss prevention wasn't there. So people say like LP, that means loss prevention. So loss prevention was not there at a particular time, but they went in, they had all the Cowboys jersey. I remember I think it was a Cowboys game or something, and they literally went, they charged all the sensors fell on the floor, and they literally grabbed jerseys. They probably grabbed like 50, probably all of them, probably like 60 jerseys that we had at the store that we were working at, and they literally took them off and they spit off and they went to the next store. And I think they ended up getting caught, but they stole like 100 jerseys from the Dallas Cowboys, which is actually absolutely insane. A lot of people would use like identity theft, so people would use, bring in like a temporary ID card, and you can kind of fake a temporary ID card. I'm not gonna lie, it seems pretty easy, and I've seen them, and we really couldn't say anything, so people would just put in like Highland Park addresses here in Dallas or certain zip codes that I find recognizable back then. Go in there and they would use like fake identities, fake IDs and everything, and they would charge up like $500, $600, $700 on another person's Kohl's card and keep it moving. But the thing is, we weren't able to say anything because technically like everything looked good and we weren't technically supposed to question it. But I remember there was like a lot of that going on, and that I hear that still goes on a lot. If anything, with a lot of friends that I have, that's actually gotten a really bad situation, because when I worked at Victoria's Secret too, that was a big issue, that people would use like fake identities and it would just be so much drama. But now like at Victoria's Secret, they like scan your ID, or like another stores, they're becoming a lot more protected on that. But that scamming on fake identity was very, very popular. A lot of people did that, like more than you would ever think. And like when I tell you, people would go in there and grab just like whatever, fill their carts full of stuff, use it, and then they'll be on their way, and they got to keep that Kohl's cash too. The story that I kind of want to say that I remember is, I remember this lady came in with her 2 children. Her children were like maybe 3, one was walking, and then one was like 7 or maybe 10. Came and hit another. So with loss prevention, like if you hit another Kohl's, like they will all kind of be in cahoots and contact, especially like here in DFW, it could be like a Dallas store or a Fort Worth store, like a Frisco store, Arlington store. You know, they'll kind of be in cahoots and kind of share information. And that's with any store. That's with Target, that's with like Neiman Marcus, that's with you know, any store. Like you will be photographed and you'll be known throughout like kind of like the region or like the area, just so they can keep a lookout for you. So this lady came in like right before we closed, and she literally went into the fitting room, grabbed a bunch of like Nike clothes. So that's what people would shoplift the most. And I remember she came in with a very big bag. So think about like a bag like this, but like maybe twice the size. It was super full, so you could tell that it wasn't naked. She went in with her 2 children, and she also had like makeup, like SE nail polishes, because that was a brand that we used to carry, the Balm, Lorac makeup, and just a bunch of stuff. And so it was just crazy. She just basically went into the fitting with her children. They put all the stuff in, like even the little baby had like makeup and stuff in their pockets, and so, like a run for it. So the guy that worked out was like a guy and a girl, and I believe the girl was off, and the guy, who was very aggressive, you can tell that he was kind of like a cop reject. You can tell that he loved the rush. He loved catching people. He got such a thrill out of it. And so this lady takes out a knife and starts kind of like wanting to like not stab him, but for him to back off. And so they ended up getting away, but there was like an altercation. She was kind of like running over him, ended up leaving, and they ended up calling 911. Well, actually on my phone, my manager called 911. And so they ended up actually catching the lady and the 2 children, and the 2 children ended up going in CPS. And what I was told, like the children, like that's how I knew the children had stuff in their pockets and the bag was full of stuff. And you know what was actual in the bag when it was filled out? There was like you know, dog training pads, like you know when you get a new dog and there's like those really big pads. It was just full of that. So she just took it out and she would just put merchandise inside, because that's what was left in the fitting room. And in the last store that she hit, there was also the same thing, like pads on there. And so yeah, she ended up losing her children to CPS from what I heard. And yeah, it was really, really crazy. Like she was running, trying to stop for loss prevention, which is absolutely like insane. I've never witnessed anything like that. And I remember it was around the holiday season, and it was like right before we closed, and it just happened out of nowhere. It was absolutely crazy. Another story, which is probably the saddest story that I kind of want to talk about shoplifting, is this Hispanic lady was there, right? I was ringing them out, and I didn't know this at the time, but she had put like a little foundation compact. So I was doing my favorite beauty product. So like, let's say like it was a compact, right? And it was like an SE nail polish as well. So let's say like this is a nail polish. So she ended up putting it in her back pocket right here, right? And then you could see it poking out a little bit. I guess she was going to try to steal it, was my understanding. And she was a Hispanic lady, and you can tell que no hablaba inglés perfecto. You can tell that her English was very broken. She looked like she was maybe 25 or 26. And I think in order for Kohl's to arrest you or to bring you into the back, it had to be over $50. And I remember that it was these 2 were over $50. I think maybe the compact was like $36 or $40, and maybe the nail polish, or maybe it wasn't nail polish, maybe it was like a lipstick or something, but it was over $50 for sure, because that's when they would like arrest you if it was over $50. So she pays out, and then they kind of catch you like, oh, what's in your pocket? And she's like, oh, I forgot. And so she ended up trying to giving back or be back, and they're like, oh, you have to go to the back. And then she starts bawling out crying. She says, oh, here's the cash, I can pay for it. And so like in Spanish she starts saying que no tenía papeles, que no, she didn't want to go to jail, que no quería ir. And she starts crying and making a big scene, and she was with like another lady with her, maybe like her mom or her tia or something. And so it's really sad because it's sad because for $50 you basically kind of threw yourself out in the hole. So basically for $50 or probably $5 worth of product, when you really think about the markup on a lot of these items, she basically ended up getting arrested, the person that worked for loss prevention. Like if that was me, I feel like I would have had a heart. No, the guy that worked for LP, he would throw you under the bus any second. Like they would watch all of us on the camera, they would like look at our backs, like they were no joke. Like maybe they got like a quota or like a bonus or commission or trophy, I don't really know. I've been in the office one time, remember they were like a bunch of trophies. So if you worked at Kohl's loss prevention, I would love to hear it down below. But I remember like se la llevaron con la policía. The policia car came and took her, and she started crying. Like I told you, I've never seen somebody in so much pain. It looked like her life, like somebody that she knew close died. Like that's how hysterica estaba. And it brought, like, I finished my shift, obviously I witnessed all that, but I remember I went home and I started crying. Like I felt so bad, me sentí horrible, porque por $5, regardless if, I mean, yes, there's consequences for actions, but like for literally $5 or $10 worth of product, you basically threw your entire life away. And she didn't seem she seemed like a normal person, but I mean, I will say like there's consequences for your actions, but damn, you got taken away for only stealing $50 worth of product. Very sad, but I remember that was one of the stories, and I actually think about that from time to time, and there's a lot of tristeza en mi corazón. Hopefully that lady, hopefully she's doing well. But I remember that got stuck in my mind, and I would have like dreams about it, because just like the way she was crying, just like the terror on her face was like, you can't take those images out of your mind. Even though, you know, technically she did do a crime, she stole. It's absolutely crazy. Like it was just something that I never thought somebody stealing could ever break my heart, and that really broke my heart. Time, I remember, I don't know, I'm just kind of spilling all like the loss prevention issues. I'm very loss prevention, very amusing, and that was kind of like the thing that I como el chisme, like that's what I wanted to kind of hear and talk about. I remember one time like these guys came in, high schoolers, and I remember they were like 15, 16, 17. I mean, I think they were 16 because one of them had a car, so let's just say 16. And I think it was like 3 or 4 of them, and they literally came in and they looked at jewelry. So the way LP catches people, it's normally in the Nike section. I remember it was in jewelry or cosmetics or fragrances and shoes. Those were the 3 places where people stole the most, and electronics. Other than that, we didn't really steal like baby clothes or like home stuff. Like they didn't really focus heavily on that. But I know those were the same categories that people focused on. Now that I keep on saying everything, I feel like I find story after story after story. Like everything's starting to come back into mind. But like I said, I just kind of want to talk about my experience. I want to talk about all these little stories that happened. I remember they came in and they stole studs. So what they did is in their shoe, so let's say they were wearing a sneaker, right? Un calcetín. You know, like how people wear like those Nike socks and they wear them like hasta aquí. So I remember they went in and they opened their flap and they just put like the stud earring. Like I guess they took like the earring jewelry piece off out of like the package. Let's say like the Kinder Scott where like it has the earrings. They would take the earrings and they would just put them in there. So what they stole were like cubic, Zerona, I'm not sure how you say it, but like those little diamond looking studs and a bunch of like little sterling silver. And they basically put them all in their socks. And they were like walking around the store. They felt kind of nervous. I felt like I could tell that it was like their first time doing it. And I remember I was working cash wrap, and I worked at the cash wrap, mainly the one next to customer service. And so I would see everything because that's the one that people would go in and out more versus the other cash wrap. And I remember they tried to leave and the police was already waiting out there. Like the guy that worked for LP had already called them and they arrested all of them. Like that was crazy. They arrested a bunch of like 16-year-olds for stealing jewelry, and I remember one of them, same thing, put out cash. I was like, I'll pay for them, but obviously it was too late. So the way I guess like a police officer would like arrest you was like if like you have to leave the physical store. And a lot of things where people would do at Kohl's, and I don't know if you guys know this as well, is Kohl's has like an entrance where like when you open it, right, when you go into a Kohl's, it's like there's like an area where it's kind of like before you get to another door, so it's actually 2 doors. A lot there, and then they would wait for you to leave there through that door. So they would be like on the phone or blah blah blah, and so they would wait for you to go in there, and once you left they would get you, because you wouldn't expect it. You would think it's just like a regular man or woman just kind of like just waiting there sitting. But now that I work that job, I can really tell who's a loss prevention in the store, and I can tell if I'm getting followed or not. There's like one store that I always get followed in. I don't know what it is, but I always get followed in, and it starts with the N. So can you guess what store I'm talking about? Like almost every time. That's how they would catch people. I remember one time this guy came in, and I mean, I feel like a lot of people just do like the basic stereotypical thing of shoplifting. Una mochila grande, un tote grande, maybe you smell like marijuana. Like it would just be like very stereotypical, or even bringing shopping bags from other stores. Our Kohl's, the closest thing was like a Waterburg, and you had to walk towards there, or like a Home Depot you had to cross the freeway for, or so it really didn't make sense to bring in like a Forever 21 shopping bag. So a lot of those people, you could tell that they would come in and do that. But yeah, this guy came in with a big backpack and tried to steal suits, and they caught him right away. I tried to steal speakers, same thing, they caught them. They would be on it. Like honestly, I feel like no one really kind of got away. Here and there, like in the fitting rooms, like sometimes I would like to work fitting room shifts or just like wander around, because like during lunches and stuff, I would take like maybe turning those 10-minute breaks into like 25-minute breaks, depending on the day. Like I said, I was a favorite there, so I opened a lot of credit cards. I got along with all the managers. I was cool with a lot of them were like in their 30s, and that's why I feel like I get along with adults more. I know technically I'm an adult now, but my best relationships with people are people that are over 30 and over 40 or 50 or 60. I just find that I get more of that emotional connection than people my age, people that are like 20, 18, 22. I feel like people still have like a lot of growing to do, and I do too, but I find that I have better conversations with people that are a little bit older than me, and so I got along with everything. Like I remember one of the girls that worked there, her name was like Laquita, and oh my god, me and her, you cannot tell us anything. Her daughter, we were in the same grade in school. We got so along. Her daughter was in cheerleading, and she would ask me for advice. She would be like, oh, what should I buy? Should I get this with my Kohl's discount, with my Kohl's cash? We would get along so well. Her nails were always popping. I really liked her a lot. She was super cool. Cannot say anything bad about her. Yeah, like I got along well, so I had like a lot of leeway, so I could see a lot of things happening. Trying to steal from Kohl's, I don't really recommend it. You'll probably get caught. We can just tell when somebody was a shoplifter. Like I could just tell when somebody was up to no good. Like you can tell who it was. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the discounts. So I feel like for me, I think I talked about this, how I would overbuy things if things were a good deal, even if it was things that I wouldn't use. And I feel like Kohl's started this addiction. I don't really do this anymore. I may buy things here and there like as mistakes, but I feel like everybody does that. But I'm talking about hoarding and buying things in excessively. So I would work markdown shifts a lot. Like I could really pick a lot of my shifts. Like I remember at one point right before I left, I was gonna be put in jewelry because I apparently like I was gonna be good at selling jewelry, whatever. And because I opened a lot of credit card accounts, so they felt like me being in jewelry would be a really great kind of clash to be in there. Or working in customer service would be like good clashing, because I can know how to do returns and everything. So like towards the end, I was doing like a lot of different shifts, and I had like a lot of flexibility, and they trusted me there a lot. Like they really trusted me. So I remember I would work a lot of markdown shifts, and those markdown shifts were no joke, guys. Nike, Adidas, Puma, all the brands that they had. So a lot of them would go 80-90% off. So every day, guys, I kid you not, in my little car, I would be having ropa, the Nike, Adidas, and every size. I didn't care if it was children's clothes. I didn't care if it was men's, women's, dogs. No me importaba. If it was 90% off Nike, Adidas, or Puma, whatever the brands they carried back then, or Levi's, best to believe I would buy it plus my 15% off. And so I started like accumulating like a lot of products. Like I would have like shoes in all these random sizes. I wore like a size too big, a size too small. I would have like a lot of just different things. And I feel like, what was another brand that I liked? I liked the Marc Anthony brand. And I remember my mom liked the Jennifer Lopez line. So 90% off, you couldn't tell me anything. I was buying a lot. And then so I just kind of had all this extra stuff, and I ended up just kind of donating it like a year after I started working there. but I think that's where my bad habit of just accumulating so much items started. Like I said, I don't really do that anymore. I'm very edited and I like the things that I kind of pick and choose. But back then I was very, very into just what can I buy today at Kohl's? And that was a very, very bad habit that took a lot in me to kind of take away. But it's still something that I'm still working on. But I remember it would just be excessive the things that I would buy. But I would always have Kohl's cash. You couldn't tell me anything. I'd always have, you know, my little Kohl's cash, and it was just really good. I liked it a lot. So if you're thinking about working at Kohl's, the discounts were amazing, and I always had like a lot of Nike and a lot of Adidas and all those brands that they had. It's particularly like the Athletic, oh, and also Under Armour. And then during like my cashier shifts, I would also work, like if I work next to like Women's Active, because that's what the other register was near at, I would go in and price check everything, and if it was 90, you're going home with me. Nike sports bras, $3, I remember, plus my discount. Under Armour tank tops, $3.50, go home with me. And the back, like I said, ours wasn't a top volume Kohl's, so a lot of things would, I feel like our Kohl's was kind of like a clearance Kohl's, where like people would just wait until things go on sale. So a lot of things did really hit 80 or 90% off before people would even buy it. And this goes for like even their Kohl's brands like Mud, JLo, Apartment 9, I don't even know the other brands, but all those other brands. So in the back I would also be bringing things out and scanning left and right, and anything 90 I would buy, and I would buy it left and right, left and right, left and right, and keep it moving as well. Oh, I do want to talk about one thing. This lady got arrested for internal theft. So what happened is, when you have your Kohl's rewards, and you know how when you type in your phone number, what she would do is she would type in her own phone number. So when you do that for every certain amount of transactions, obviously it's going to get flagged into the system. So she ended up accumulating, like I want to say like $300 worth of Kohl's cash, and she spent it, and they kind of, I don't know how they did it, but they ended up catching her for stealing basically, and they arrested her. So Kohl's was not playing any jokes. They were watching everybody. I'm pretty sure I was one of the top ones watched, because I mean, I had access to a lot of things. I could play with the jewelry, I could play with the rings, I could be in customer service, I can be in the back. Like I was just doing whatever I wanted to do, but I knew they were watching me at the end of the day. But like I said, I've never stolen any from an employer before. I've never done anything shady at an employer, so I don't care. I'm like, you can read my text messages, you can see what I have to text, my plans for tonight, or a Whataburger order. I really don't care, because I ain't got nothing to hide, you know, anything shady. But that happened to her. The discounts are really good. Loss prevention was absolutely crazy. I feel like also it was the person, like the person was very passionately, he was a white male. He was about maybe like 5'10", but he was like, he wasn't muscular, he was just fat. Like he was just fat. I remember he would come in with like 2 bags of Whataburger, like order 2-3 burgers at a time, like Coke, Dr. Pepper at all times, bringing in and out. So he was very kind of like passionate at the job, and he played the kind of like the stereotypical like loss prevention person. So that was kind of like the description of him. And I remember he had this girl, and that girl went to the same high school that I went to, but she was a little bit older, and she would make her cry. He would make her cry a few times until she like left, until she couldn't take it anymore. I remember that happened. Oh, and I also remember some guy wanted to look at some wedding rings, right? Like engagement. And you know, like Kohl's, I was like, can I see this ring? And it was like a $4,000 or $5,000 ring retail. But you know, it probably, I think for the most part, a lot of Kohl's rings, like the stone was not real. It was just like a filler, but like the actual like bands could be like diamonds and stuff. And it would like retail like $4,000 or $5,000, but it actually probably retailed for like $300, if we're being really honest, because of just, they would just hype it up because of the diamonds on the side. And he was like, can I see that ring? He literally grabbed the ring, looked at it, put it on like on a pinky or something, and like ran out and got away with it. And I remember that happened after I left, because I remember I was in contact with one of the persons that worked there, and that was a thing that people would get hit on, is people would try on jewelry and then just run for it, and they would do it like right at night. And it would be like really like bigger dudes, like tall dudes that, you know, you'd be kind of very, very intimidated to kind of say something. That would happen a lot. I remember like I really liked working there. I remember there was this guy named Jose, and he had like big mama drama, and he would talk to me about all his problems, and he ended up working for loss prevention like as I left at another store. And he was really nice and super cool. And no, yeah, he was super cool. I really liked him a lot. We got along so well. He was so funny. He had like 3 jobs, pobrecito. The baby mama got him working, pero super cool, super nice. There were people that were lifers that have been there since that store opened, working. I liked a lot of people. There were people that just were like less than me. Like I worked there 5 months, but there were people that were working there like 1 month and then they left, or 3 months and then they left. But honestly, I can never say anything wrong. Like I really liked working there. I liked all the managers. I liked all the crazy drama. I was kind of here for it because I was very antisocial in school. So I feel like Kohl's was kind of like my place to get that socialness, because like I said, back then I didn't really have like a lot of friends. I really like to do things myself, so Kohl's was like that outlet where I had to kind of interact with other people. And another thing that people would do is like, I would make people be like, if I can give you 15% off, would you do like a review for me? And so they would be like, yes. So my managers would tell me to do this. So like I would scan it on their own phone and I would write like a review about myself, or like make them type it up, and I'd give them like a discount. So there was like a lot of things that were like very well, like I could think the people like up of that store, like not the store manager, but like the store manager's manager, liked to see that. I met him a couple times. He was really nice. Honestly, I don't really have anything bad to say. Like working at Kohl's was pretty fun. If you're looking for a nice job at Kohl's, it was very clean cut and collective. It was pretty much the same customer. It was the one that I worked at, like I said, was a very weekly basis. Like there was like a lot of people that would come in 2-3 times a week, or like once every other week, like familiar faces, and that they would recognize your name. There would be people, a lot of Hispanic people, just because the one I worked at just had like a lot of Hispanic customers. A lot of people comprando ropa for people from Mexico, like buying all those 90% off worth of clothes, and then have like a big receipt with like save like 90% off everything plus a coupon, and then plus they got Kohl's Cash. That Kohl's Cash is a trick. They get people coming in. There was this lady named Sarah that worked in the makeup counter. She was like maybe in her 30s. She was super nice. Like just happened like a month ago, and so even though my birthday was like a month ago, when I first started working there, she gave me like a makeup bag, and it had like bare mineral brushes, makeup, and that was really nice of her, because back then I was kind of into kind of like that makeup-y scene still, you know. It's like that ABH Modern Renaissance palette, like you know, that was like very popular. Anastasia liquid lipsticks, just anything Anastasia was super popular. The Makeup Forever HD foundation was very popular like in that era. And then Jeffree Star Cosmetics had just kind of started. I remember all his launches were very kind of popular, and it was very watchly close, versus now like nobody really cares about that. It's all just kind of meh. Same for kind of like Anastasia and brands like that. It's just kind of like, you know, the hype kind of died down. But I remember that was very popular, and we would always talk about like makeup and stuff. We carried Juicy Couture in the store. That was very good. But yeah, I don't have anything bad to say. I always get asked about what my first retail job is. How did I like it? I worked at Kohl's, $10 an hour, opening credit cards left and right, having like a lot of leeway. They would let me kind of make my schedule a lot too. They would kind of let me work whenever I wanted to. So if I wanted to get a full weekend off, you know, it's very unheard of in like a store like Kohl's, or like maybe like a Ross or something. You have to work weekends. They would give it to me, as long as like their thing was, if you can open credit cards on the weekdays, you know, that's good enough. You know, if you can just open credit cards, you're good. You can have whatever you want. So I had like a lot of leeway working there. So yeah, I know I always get asked about my some of the past jobs that I've had. I talked about me working at Chick-fil-A, which I'll leave linked down below. I talked about me working at Victoria's Secret. That's a very old video, so don't judge kind of like the way I talk and everything, because it's very different than what I am now. I'll also leave that video linked down below. And now I'm talking about my experience working at Kohl. So it's very fun to see me kind of talking about this, and kind of like now in the lights and everything, kind of like reflecting, actually talking it out loud, knowing that's gonna be posted on YouTube. It's very kind of like weird, but you guys already know I love to talk. I love to give out story time information. So yeah guys, this is gonna be the story time of me working at Kohl's, my first retail job. Like I said, I loved it. Didn't have any negatives I could say. People life first, people just working for a month, people working, you know, just to get like a little cute check. Nothing wrong to say. I honestly really like my time there. I got paid weekly, so you know, I was feeling myself on my little $10 an hour. I remember having shopping bags 90% off with my little Kohl's Cash. I was just honestly feeling myself, and honestly it really kind of it really kind of sparked my interest into it sparked my interest into fashion, because I like the way merchandising, like the way people bought things, what were the process like I just love all of that. Has always prepared me for a lot of things in life, and so like now, like all those things that I kind of know, I kind of can talk about it on the YouTube video. I can, you know, reference it, somebody needs help on something. So I did like it, and I remember like right before I left, before I put in my 2 weeks notice, because I did put my 2 weeks notice in, I remember one of the managers there, I don't know what his name was, but he was a really nice person. He was a Hispanic dude, and he was like, oh, you're gonna be an E4 one day, Sergio, I can see it. And I guess E4 was like a manager there, and I was like, yeah, that's gonna be me. And like the next day I put in my 2 weeks, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, I like the environment, I like the people, nothing wrong to say. But yeah, the location that I actually worked at now closed. They moved, it's now, I believe they moved it to another location. I haven't been to the new one just yet, but I know like, and once I start hitting about 50,000 subscribers, I want to do like this video, and this is a secret between me and you if you got this long away to the video. There's this video that I wanted to do. I saw Emma Hill do it like a long time ago, and it's where she's like about me video, and she literally goes to her like elementary school, she goes to her high school, she goes to her first job, her first fashion job, you know, just all these very important places in her life. That's a video that I wanted to do. Hopefully I hit 50,000 subscribers like in March or April. That's kind of my goal, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I want to say thank you so much for watching this little story time, spending some time with me, Sergio Secret. Los quiero mucho. You guys already know I love to spend time with you. I like to kiki, I like to chop it up. You guys already know that. And ya sabes, I post a video Monday through Friday on designer and contemporary fashion, with a little bit of, you know, a little bit of me videos sprinkled here and there. And yeah, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any one of my uploads, because there's gonna be a lot of great content in 2021. The year is just starting, and I cannot wait to show you what I'm made of and the things that I'm gonna be bringing on this platform. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys, y los quiero mucho.